we are getting back into things. We're carrying on with prep for the first playable build, and fun times ahead. We got a little schedule thing here. Let's zoom in. I think we can see that. We got a little Google Doc schedule here. I do have a Trello as well, of course, but I like to have something quick to get rough notes in as well. So this is what's on the target coming soon on stream. Hi Van, how's it going? I replied to your message. I was super delayed at replying because I ended up busy. I have to reply properly again because I rushed it as I was going live. I sent a rush message to you. Rod said that some that are dark and a couple that are LGBT. Ooh, and in terms of plot and characters, that sounds interesting. And do you have a Goodreads? I used to have one. In fact, I did sign up many years ago. Years and years ago. So unless my profile's been deleted, I should still have one. I remember having it when I was reading the Dark Tower series. I'll have to have a look to see if I'm still on there. And I still need to draw those images, but work and stuff for me to do. I'm going to try to. So this week seems like we've both been busy ones then. But yeah, whenever you get a bit of time, rough sketch, as crappy as you want it to be. Doesn't have to be a masterpiece, but it'll be great because it'll, what your little vision for the Yorosar Lake Fall tree face sounded pretty cool. And as an artist yourself, it's always you're definitely someone I'd like to listen to. It's good to know fellow artists, especially with the undertaking I'm about to do, which is my own environment tile set art, which is here as an off-stream task for me. Though now and again I might do some on-stream. Doesn't mean it's only going to be an off-stream task, but it's going to be something I do off-stream as well, now and again while I'm working on the scene work. So that is something that we talked about last stream. Screenshots are here on the website now, but it's very early base. I'm currently working on here we go. Here is our little environment art schedule, well, to-do list checklist. I've bolded trees because that's currently what I'm working on now. I'm working on getting the whole leaf texture and that. I want to make sure that's a bit more detailed than it currently is, so I'm messing about with that at the moment, and then I'm going to move on to the trunks. So definitely trees for at least the next week or two, and everything else will slowly be detail added over time. We're talking the whole development here with how long it's going to take, the roadmap for doing this. Throughout all the alpha builds, there'll be a slight little bit change, improvement, and upgrade over time. Kind of approaching it similar to how someone like Concerned Ape did with Stardew Valley. He sort of added to what he did over time. And could I send a friend request, at least if it doesn't have your last name? Yeah, for sure. I'll actually have a look and make sure there's no personal details of mine on my Goodreads profile. Change it to Rose Rainblood or something, and I'll send it over to you for sure. It's pretty empty probably. It's probably only got the Dark Tower up there, but it might make me start reading again. Hi Matt, how's it going? It's good to see you. I shall work on it for you, Rose. Awesome, yay. Food time, so I hope you have a good day. Until next time, hopefully. Enjoy your snack, Rod. I hope it's good food. And Met's coming, and today, Met will probably like today's stream. Sure you like all our streams there, right? But especially today, because we're going to be having a look at your community character today. That's currently the thing that's at the top of our list for streams. What's on the agenda? I've kind of just listed, this is just an eaten version of the list I started writing up last week. It's a little bit more of a shortened version, and I've put a symbol to symbolise the category. So we got a globe for world building, we got the silhouette characters for characters and stuff like that. I wanted it to be a bit more condensed so it was easier to read. So I thought we could have a look at Met and Vagabonds NPCs this week, make them, get them on the stream avatars. It's been a while since we've added new community characters to the game, so it's always exciting to make a new one because it can get ideas for where their place in the story is going to be and things. So that's always fun. Even if it's in a future episode, it's still fun to think about where they could slot in the game at some point or another. Especially now we've made a rough world map and we've got all our sort of very, very, very rough skeleton for the 6 episodes and what places we're going to be visiting and that. So yes, and we got a few other things coming up, such as make HD version of the battle character sprites, which is definitely something to do because if we look at our lore bible, I updated Carol's now, so we do have it's taking its time to load. I have a very good internet now, by the way, so it should be behaving itself. I did a speed test and it's like, whoa. My old internet at the other house was pretty decent, don't get me wrong, I never really had any issues with it. But this is like way better. So what's going on here? Maybe it's World Anvil that's down. Maybe it's that, because everything else seems to be working fine. What speed shab? I can't remember actually. I did take a screenshot and sent it over to Rex and he was like shocked and jealous. So obviously they're decent speeds. I can't remember the number though, the exact number, because I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to remembering numbers. But oh, here we go. I'd say maybe it's World Anvil. Everything else seems fine. And hi Binary, how's it going? It's good to see you. Hello chat, mostly lurking, but hope you're well. How have you been, Binary? It's so good to see you again, and thank you for the welcome back. It's good to be back. Okay, I'm going to refresh Trello to see if it's a problem on my end. It seems Trello's working. Is Raindrop RPG working? It's generally can be a bit slower loading sometimes. It seems extra slow. There might be an issue on my end at the moment then if that's the case. If it's working for everyone else. I heard the internet did break today actually. I woke up and everyone on Twitter was talking about the internet breaking, so don't know what that was about, but I think it got fixed. Going well, thanks, busy with work, keeps me off Twitch, hope the move went well. It's going well. I mean, it's one of those things that's not going to end for a long time. Like, it wouldn't even surprise me if this time next year there's still like renovation work going on, because my family are very into that kind of thing. I'm not, but I just like my peace and quiet so I can do my thing. But gonna just try my best, not let it disrupt me too much, hopefully, and just carry on. But I hope work's been good to you. Hope that's been treating you well. But the Lore Bible today isn't a big deal, so it's not the end of the world that it's not loading. But let's see if I wanted to show the banner of all the barrels really, and just show that they need a bit of a glow up, those characters, but we can save that for the stream when we actually do that task. And these are just a handful of other things we need to do. There might be other types of streams we could do, and if I think of any, I'll add them to the list. But these are like the main ones that cross my mind as some of the things that need doing before the first build, at least. Thank you so much for the host. I believe that was a host then. I missed who it was from, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. So yes, I'm going to be, whenever I get a bit of time, whenever there's not jobs or house things distracting me, I'll be working on getting detail to that custom tile set slowly. I was working on the tree leaves last night. I've had an experiment with different patterns as well, because I want to try a few different ways that the leaves could look, because I think that's a good thing. So whenever I get a bit further in progress with that, I'll show some of it off and maybe even update the screenshots. And then I'm going to get back into doing scene work consistently, so we'll start seeing some video clips again, hopefully. So that'll be something I'll be working on a bit, and I'll split it 50-50 between the two of these maybe. But yes, today we're going to do something chill and fun, and we're going to get into making some new community characters. So we're going to start with Met, because Met's been waiting a while for their character to be made. We've also got on the Trello here. And Vagabond submitted their character last week, I think, and then we'll do Vagabonds after we've done Met's. Finally the website's loaded. Does the press kit? Oh yes, it does. So these are our barrel characters. I've updated Carol's new HD version. She's a lot prettier now. She's a waifu. She was beautiful before, but she just got more detail now. So we're going to do the same to Meryl, Elvira, and Hank. We're going to give them more larger eyes. There's more room for expression then. And I'm gonna be excited what they look like. We'll decide together which sort of eyes suit them, because remember when we did the pixel art eye stream earlier in the year, when we made the new custom character, the tall sprites, the tall sprites, we did about several different eye variations as well, didn't we? We'll find the best ones to match with each of them. We did that with Carol, and it was a fun stream to see her come to life and be a little bit more detailed looking, because we need to get those done before the Steam page gets released, because I'm going to be putting up a small little banner of each of their little pixel sprites in the description on the Steam page, and we want to make sure we've got the most updated version of them there. So that's why I'm prioritising that as a high up one. Then we'll probably go back to a bit of world building. I still want to have world building streams as well. But then we're going to start going into story writing and further character development as well, because I think it's going to be very valuable to start fleshing out the main quest and the actual story of Roots and Rumours again, and get deeper into that. Yes, that's kind of what's on the agenda for now. So, Met and Vagabond's characters. So let's open Photoshop then. Here we go. So I do want to start using a sprite properly forever, like dedicate all the art that's done, the environment, new custom tile set, and the character art into a sprite rather than Photoshop eventually. Because I find it far more, it's very good with colour palettes. It's so easy to accidentally use way too many colours, and it just keeps it, it's very organised. I like the UI of a sprite. It doesn't crash, it's not as slow or CPU as extensive as Photoshop, I feel. I just really like the program. It's really nice, and the people that make it are a little bit more less money grabby than Photoshop. So that's another point. So, but I can't import this into a sprite. I can't just open a PSD file into a sprite, unfortunately. So I'm going to just continue using Photoshop for now for these characters, but eventually over time I'll start converting them over to a sprite. Thank you so much, Kia, for that sub. I appreciate it. They've subbed for 19 months on a 19-month streak. Wow. That's nearly the big 2-0, Kia. Thank you so much for that support. You guys are awesome. There's some big months coming up, some month streaks lately, and I super appreciate that. Super appreciate that support. Really helps, really goes a long way for a starving, humble game dev like me. And I like that emote, Kyla, it's really cute. Were you the one that hosted me? Appreciate it. So, right, so here's good old Nigel. Here he is. So this is a PSD file I've got open of all the NPCs in the entire game so far. So Nigel's there, Fiona's there, and I've just got them all set out there, walking sprites, and it's like this little PSD of everybody in different folders and layers. So Rose is there, all the every single community character that you see on the Law Bible in the character sections is there. So it's a huge file. So obviously now we're going to be making some new community characters. They're going to get added to this too, and it's going to be fun. So Met's character, let's have a little spy, let's have a read up on this character, and I think it's totally fine for me to show this off. Let's have a look. Let's click here first. I'll get it up in a minute. Okay, so just hide Photoshop. This is the form method for the characters. So we're going to have a look through it, read it, get to know this character. Oh, and we're going to make a Law Bible profile for them too. So we do need to have the Law Bible up. If it decides to load. The press kit did. So I don't know whether it's what's going on. But anyway, we can always I can always just get the profile up afterwards if there's issues. We'll focus on doing the sprite art first, if the Law Bible's going to be silly today. We'll do that whenever it decides to work. So, Bon D. Brogley, have I said that name right? We all know that I'm bad at pronunciation. I love the name, it's very unique. So, and feline, which is awesome because we need more cats in the game. We really do. So, we only have one of the kit car race in the game at the moment. They're very underrepresented, so really happy to get another one. And that's Azriel. So where's Azriel's kitty? There we go, there. So we're going to use Azriel's kitty as a base for this one, and we'll edit the colours, of course, to what Met wants, and we'll also give some different eyes that fit the character best, and clothes, of course. So luckily the way I've set it all up, we can totally take off the clothes. Okay, it's funny because they have human skin underneath right now, like, so they've got just, it almost looks like they're a human wearing a kitty mask, but because Azrael's character is wearing a jacket, we didn't need to do the fur underneath for this character. But of course, if there's ever a cat character in the future that is topless or something, who knows, then we might have to make a bit of fur character. So, of course, if they're clothed, it's not a big deal. It's the same with the reptiles. They've got human bodies too, but scales would need to be added if they were showing their body off. So, we're going to, well, let's deal with the art in a sec. We'll just look at again at the profile, we'll read through it. So, scientist. In fact, what I'm going to do, in fact, this is probably going to be easy, especially because, the Law Bible's decided to work now, I see. But before putting profiles in the Law Bible, I like to write them up rough in a Google Doc or something. So I am going to just make a new Google Doc. And I'm going to copy and paste what we see of Met's profile into Google Doc, and then after I'll copy and paste that into a new Law Bible article. So new community NPC, yay! That's our heading. Copy and paste in the text, so I've got the right font. So name, well, submitted by isn't one, so meticular. I'm actually gonna, there we go, I've got this on a separate window now. And the character's name, and this is probably going to be easier to cut. What? You actually need to get an extension to copy and paste now? No way. I don't believe that. No way. Well, what's the world coming to? There we go. He did it with Control and V anyway. Okay, so let's bold these. Yay, exciting times. Yeah, it's probably easier to just get it all down on Google Doc because it's a little bit small on the WordPress form submission, and it's just a lot nicer to look at on Google Doc and organise. So, and the race. Kitka. And so, oh my goodness, this is exciting. The more we read, the more exciting it gets. So remember when we made a massive, where does it scroll down? Here's our NPC form. Remember when we made a massive list of livelihoods? We've got so many, there's dozens. You can't see on the stream because it doesn't show drop down menus, but there's absolutely loads. So it's really cool that we spent time doing that, because when you guys have an NPC to create, can kind of give you some ideas on all the cool livelihoods and jobs that people could have. This character, Bomb. Have I pronounced it right? I feel like I'm pronounced it wrong. Tell me, Matt, so I can say it correctly. So the job is, this is cool. This is really cool. We haven't got a character with this job yet. So let's get it filled in. I am a scientist. Ooh. So, one thing I was going to ask you guys, because I'm interested in your opinions on this, to avoid getting repeat characters that are the same, like in the future, I figured that we could remove certain jobs off the drop down menu so that we don't get someone else say that they're So, I mean, in certain circumstances it could work, like having 2 merchants or 2 scientists or 2 doctors or 2 farmers or something. It doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a clash or something that doesn't work. But sometimes you want to encourage that bit of variety as well, so the world feels, you know, there's loads of different people doing different things in the world, right? So I'm wondering that, because we do already have 2 merchant characters, and we have merchant here still on the menu, and I'm not sure what others we have a lot of. We have 2 warrior veterans, so I might be inclined to take warrior off as well if we were going to do that, because there's so many cool unique ones, right? And it's be cool to encourage people to sort of be something a bit unusual, like a toy maker, like that's very cool, very unique as well, or a stylist, or a poet, or a musician, or a food taster. There's so many like unusual ones, and I'd be totally for adding more over time if anyone comes up with some unique ones. Good idea. I think the variety is good. Hi Oracle, how's it going? It's good to see you. Thank you for the like. I'm not sure because I took the name from Wikipedia. I just figured not every science cat character needs to be named Schrödinger, so I pictured it. Different quantum mechanics interpretation I love the name. It's very unique and it seems to have a nice flow to it. So I'm going to call him Bomb, because I'm seeing it as the H is silent, so it's like bomb, like pronounced like that almost. So hopefully that is how to pronounce it. I'm going to actually go on a pronouncer video website later to see how they say it. And that's cool. But yeah, so I'm thinking of doing that. I'm thinking of giving the NPC form an update in general, folks, because as we start to flesh out the lore and set more things in stone, which is what we've been doing lately. Before the move, we spent several weeks really fleshing out the way things work in the world. We fleshed out the history, we fleshed out the magic system, how the government works. We started filling in backgrounds and histories of each of the races and the pantheon legends for each of them. There's some real lore being established now, things weren't like that in the beginning. Things were way more open-ended in the beginning, so I was totally all for having open-ended character submissions, because it was fun kind of seeing what you guys would say to help get ideas for the community, right, from your lore. But obviously as time goes on, we sort of have to make things a little bit more less set in stone for you guys when filling in these NPCs, because we risk massive plot clashes and lore clashes in the future otherwise. Like imagine if someone made a human character that was the best magic user that ever existed. Well, that isn't possible with the lore we've sort of set in stone. Or if someone made another king and there's no space for another king because we've got a king in the capital, and there's the only other king we can have is the one in the fairy city, who is the father of Scaly's character. So certain things could be a clash, right? So at some point I'm thinking of being smart with the form and making it in a way that people can't accidentally. I'm trying to think of what we could limit here. So obviously character names, great. Totally love the idea you guys deciding the name of the character, and I've got a second choice there simply in case the first name's already taken. Like if somebody names their character Violet, well, we can't have him for Violet because we've already got a Violet, so we'd take the second choice. I was even considering removing elves and humans from the list temporarily, like not forever, but for a space of time, just to start encouraging people picking the others, because we don't have many of the beast race in the game. I think that would be more important for playable characters than NPCs. It's totally fine to have any NPC one, because to be honest, the community NPCs are going to only be like, what, 10% of the game. We're going to make loads of other NPCs on stream together and invent them from scratch, so we can always fill in the gaps of what we're lacking in representation ourselves with our own NPCs. But for playable characters, when we finally do open that form again, I've noticed one thing about the playable characters we've got. They're very heavy with human and elves in the playable cast. So I think it's more about encouraging people to have some beast races in that side, for that side of thing, when it does reopen. But as for NPCs, it's maybe less essential, because like I said, we can always fill in the gaps ourselves with what's missing. And that's great. I love the job thing. As I said, might remove jobs that have already been picked a lot, like merchant and king. Have we got king? We haven't put king down, have we? We didn't actually add king, did we? I don't think we did. No. I mean, the issue is we've got other, and someone could always fill it in and say king, and then we're like screwed. So I like the idea of having other, because it allows you to pick something that isn't on the list. And the allegiance thing is totally fine. I've got to change the wording of that to allegiance, and in brackets, if the hero is a good hero, right? Because obviously if it's an evil hero, an antagonist might actually be an ally. And obviously gender bit's fine. The goal thing is great. I think that's vague enough to sort of adapt to our liking. We could even do with adding a few new goals to this. I think I've got a massive list of goals actually, so they could do being added. So I mean, I think it's okay how it's written, but I suppose it's the tell us more about yourself thing we're having open-ended here. We might want to say limit it a little bit. So we'll think, if anyone's got any ideas in the chat about how to create a really good character form that isn't gonna cause problems for us in the future with our lore and clashes and that, feel free to give me some little tips, because I'm definitely all ears. So I looked up how to pronounce bomb. It's kind of like bomb, but it's actually pronounced boom. Oh, like boom with a, so it's almost like the H is a W then. Interesting. That's a cool way to pronounce it too. The O sounds more like a long O. Boom. Yeah. That works too. So yeah. Should we call him Boom? We'll do that. Hi, Dweeb, how are you doing? Local delicacies like breads garnished with dried flower petals or something like that might be a cool way to give different places their own local flavours. Just a random thought I had, for sure. Like, I'm definitely, like, when we move on to other zones and other villages, I want none of them to be anything like Fall or Everbloom. Which is another reason why I'm kind of happy we're sort of going down the treehouse route, the log house route with Lakefall, because that's very sort of distinct from how buildings are going to look in the other zones as well. And they're all going to have their own lore and rich details over time. In fact, that's made me think we could end up having a world building stream about like the villages in the future as well, and how villages live their lives. But that might be something in the far future, like different distinct unique qualities about village life in different zones. But that's such a detailed thing that we might find ourselves doing that more when we're sort of further on when we explore future areas in future episodes. I think that whatever ideas come on the character form just need to be premised with the note that any history will be adapted to fit the game. Pieces will be picked out of what is offered. Yeah, so it's always, I think at the end of the day, there's always a risk, even if we sort of, as long as we leave boxes for people to fill in, there's always a risk someone can type something in that clashes. The only way we could avoid that is if we only allow check sort of options like this, and that people just have to pick from that and can't type in anything else like this. But we've sort of got that note here, so we're sort of there. And even current characters we've got in the game that have a Law Bible profile at present, some of those will probably need to be adapted just a touch as well, so they fit in with the law. But of course we'll still keep to the vision of the character and the heart of the character. But sometimes it's got to happen, because otherwise we'll get ourselves into a little bit of a pickle if we end up having law that doesn't work or go. Okay, so now let's carry on with the fun stuff. Back to the law, back to the profile of Met's character. So we know they are a cat of the cat race. They are a scientist. The allegiance of the character is, I've totally spelled that wrong. There we go. Neutral. So when I ask the neutral, the allegiance question on the character form, that basically means allegiance if your hero, if the hero, is good, like, you know. And so neutral's a good one, and adaptable as well. And sometimes it depends on what you do, how you interact with that character in the story, that might make them change allegiances, because nobody is ever going to be rigidly one allegiance. You know, that's something that is adaptable for every character. Like even somebody like Nigel Bookington, who's like really harmless and sweet, he even could be an antagonist to some heroes. So I do like to ask the question, just so we can sort of get the idea of the character's alignment and overall, like, that way they're tempted into evil, or only how honourable they are. So I like asking that question so we get an idea. But it can always be adaptable. Right, so the next question is, what is your gender? So they are a male. Which I thought so. Their goal is to seek knowledge, which again, that's a cool open-ended one. We don't know if there's more to it, but we'll soon find out when we read through the form. Alright, so we do have an interesting story that's coming here. Right, so tell us more about yourself and your goal. Let's get this in then. And to be honest, like, there's been, you know, a couple of dozen of community character submissions since we've been doing this project. Most of them are totally doable, like even the ones that might need a slight bit of adapting because of certain terms or law that might be a bit tricky in this world. All of them are workable characters. There's never been one that I've been like, oh my god, we can't have that one, you know. So let's fill this in. I'm going to copy it exactly as Matt has written it. Oh no, it's done that thing again. There we go, it's worked. Okay, so let's read it out. It's good to like sort of read the profile through first before we start on the sprite, because knowing their personality sort of gives an idea of what they can look like as well. So I like to like read through it all first. I was raised in this lab ever since a research team was trying to clone a powerful monster, but ended up accidentally making me by cloning the fur of a feline that was either hunting or hunted by it. I was passed around as a pet when I was just a small cat until they saw I was a humanoid feline and started teaching me to be a lab assistant. I love learning whatever I can while helping people and get to eat the lab mice that aren't needed for experiments. Interesting. It raises some interesting questions about potential feline kicker law and how they fit into society with the rest of the world and how other people react and treat them, because they haven't really been fleshed out yet as a species, have they? We haven't really spent much time really thinking about them and what their culture and life is like. We've talked a bit about reptile culture, like reptiles are born from eggs. They get their wings and tails chopped off for punishment. The tail grows back but the wings don't, so that's a severe punishment that is terrible for a reptile. We talked about that they might like shake their wings a bit in greeting when they say hi, the reptiles. So those little small things, those little details about races are really cool to think about. And we know a few little things about reptiles, but we're definitely going to flesh reptiles out even more because they're like a main sort of species and that we're going to be meeting in episode 1. So the raised in this lab is a really interesting thought. It makes me think, where could this lab be in the world? Because we've made a map, haven't we? We've got a very rough idea of the different regions that we've got. And there's underground places. Maybe, who knows if this is an underground lab or whether it's a lab actually you can enter on the outside world in plain view. There's all these questions like that. So I'd be very interested to think what Matt and any of you guys think about things like that, the location of it. So research team, that's also an interesting point. Like, it's raised the question of who is this research team? Are they a link to the government? We know that the government were the ones that discovered the X in raindrops, for example, many years ago. So the government, the current government, are very sort of scientifically advanced and probably have labs themselves and are the ones responsible for a lot of the science and technology in the world. So maybe it's a link to the government. So I'm going to put questions like this here at the bottom. Where is the lab? Just so we know, we don't even have to answer them all now. These are things we can keep in mind if we want to, if Met or Substitute want to be open-ended for now. But it's nice to sort of think about this. So, who is it? Underground or on the surface? Who are the research team? Are they part of the government? Who discovered X in raindrops, or someone or a completely different group, a completely separate group? Because either works. There's going to be many factions in the world. put these in italics. Give a bullet point. And Met says, I figured it was a government thing since they have so many secrets. I guess cloned monsters would be a way for them to make guardians to defend the capital. It could work, and I agree, Met. I wanted you to confirm it because obviously you wrote this, so you could have had something in mind specifically when you were writing this. So now you've confirmed it, I'd agree that it makes sense. Especially because someone like Traitorio has sort of given little signs that they are up to something in regards to building a force to be reckoned with, almost an army. So there's definitely stuff going on, and because they're definitely the dodgy faction in the game, it just makes a lot of sense to make them at the centre of it all a bit more. And that definitely makes sense for sure. I think when we look at Walker and Kicker, I believe we need to avoid looking at them as how we look at our own society. They aren't descending from our house cats or dogs. These people descended from kitsune and are actually a pretty old race, so we kind of need to look at them from a different perspective than the pets we keep home. Interesting point as well, because the kitsune and that are very legendary. It's like how the Dra have descended from dragons. So it raises the questions of how it is every single human in the world, would even the most ignorant of people and mankind be aware of this, or are some people still ignorant to it? Like, how widespread is this fact that Walker and Kicker are like this? I guess that's something to raise it, just to like make sure we all get an understanding and consider all points of view, because I like to dig in deep with these questions. And humans are actually the newbies here. They didn't domesticate these races. That's true point. So if this is if this research team is the government, then it's going to be primarily a human research team. Not necessarily though, because they could easily be other races that work for the government, because we know that the Walker legend was the one responsible for the change in government, the positive change. So there's definitely like a multicultural sort of way of life in the capital. There's a human king, and there's a human prime minister. We know that, but it doesn't mean that every other single member of the government is human. There could be the odd reptile, there could be a few Walker, there could be a Kit, there could be because we sort of definitely get in this, the fact that there's a Walker legend who's decided all this change, the one that decided it would be a meritocracy with the whole art thing and that, and the Kit sort of inspired that artistic route with the Safe Haven, the Maid, back in the day during the war. There's a definite, these races are all working together to build a better world sort of feeling. It almost seems like a very, the capital almost seems like a really great way of life on the outside, because everyone gets on almost, and everything's being decided for the better. But obviously it's not all that great, because there wouldn't be a story if everything was perfect. Hi Dave, how you doing? It's good to see you. I don't know how many other secrets are already underground in the swampy area, but that's what I was thinking. And if not, then under the mountain with the tower would be the most next likely spot. Awesome, so we can get those in just so we're aware of that and get them in. They've had a long time to develop as a society. I'm not saying humans are not smart or intellectual. And how are you described relic weapon drops? Awesome. So that sounds fun, Dave. Hi Pooh GG. Yeah, so we gotta like be careful that we at how we go with this law, but it's a good point. But it almost makes me think, like, obviously we considering wildlife in general as well, and because we haven't really had a chance to consider wildlife in the world that aren't humanoids as well, like dogs or wolves or things like that just yet as well. So okay, so other things, let's get this in about the, so where's the lab? Is it underground, on the surface? Matt said the swamp, under, I'll say underground in the swampy area, and under the mountain with the tower. Cool. So we've got a couple of options there. Binge grinding those drops too. Is it tough? There could be true in general though. Boom wasn't necessarily raised by the kicker, so he might be a bit of a weirdo by their standards. Trying to make sure normal didn't become like Boom. Yeah. So it's definitely something to consider, and it's not, we might not like set things like this in stone overnight or in one stream. It's going to be an evolving thing. If we might like think, oh, we'll go that way with Kitka for now, but then another option could come to our minds that could work great as well, especially because we don't know if Kitka are going to be a predominant like group in episode 1. They might come more to light in episode 2, 3 onwards, right? But it's still good to keep things like this in our minds so we can sort of sit on it and consider all options and develop it over time. Okay, so trying to clone a powerful monster, that's an interesting one to keep in mind. So I'm going to put in brackets here the government. And who is this powerful monster they tried to clone? And we don't need an answer for this one. It could be a mystery for us right now, but who could this powerful monster be that they tried to clone? But we will put in brackets someone the government believe could help strengthen their forces. Which is definitely a likely one. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, like the one thing about race is not one, it doesn't have to, one situation doesn't have to fit all, does it, right? There's all these intricacies and different behaviours, different beliefs within each of them, because people are complicated. And yeah, I think we all know that I'm definitely someone that doesn't like to put everyone into the same stereotype or the same box. So even if some people have certain attitudes, it doesn't mean every single group in the world has the same sort of attitude towards each other. Like some people in Lightfall, for example, are going to hate reptiles, but I bet you there'll be the odd NPCs, more than we think, who actually sympathise with the reptiles and kind of want to be their friends. But there might be the odd few really traditional folk who are unwilling to budge. Okay, so they accidentally make a they ended up accidentally making me by cloning the fur of a feline that was either hunting or hunted by it. I was passed around as a pet when I was just a small cat until they saw I was a humanoid feline and started teaching me to be a lab assistant. I love so this is all the past. So of course, looking at this, I mean, I'm gonna have to give it a proper read through and think of this backstory a bit, but it seems like it's definitely a different case from you know, the usual Kit Kat, for sure, if he came about from an experiment. So that's something to mull over as well, like for sure. It's an interesting concept though. Love learning whatever I can while helping people and get to eat the lab mice that aren't needed for experiments. Yeah, so that's another thing about like what do the Kit Kat eat that are different to humans. And of course they do have that. They do have the animal instinct in them that other races don't. So of course they could eat things that we wouldn't dream of eating. And so I guess they had the impression that Kit Kat babies resemble small cats until they learn to talk and stand up as a toddler. Yeah, and I guess it would be easy to make that sort of to not know. And I guess it'd be cool to think of what these races do look like as babies, all of them, and reptiles as well. I mean, I used to Google baby Krogan and baby Solarian from Mass Effect. I've got a thing for baby looking aliens and different cute animals. So I'll be all for thinking that too. But yeah, that's something to think about, because at the end of the day, other wild animals are going to exist as well, and is sort of like, well, what makes them different? What makes a normal cat and dog or a lion or a tiger in the world? What makes it clear what the difference is between them and a Kit Kat? And if there's no difference, what is it? Is there a point in their age when it becomes clear? And like Met says, maybe when they start speaking and eventually developing traits that makes them clearly different. It's something to think about for sure, because all these things make it more interesting and in depth, having a reason for things and really putting ourselves into the world and imagining if this was the sort of world where humanoid cats and dogs existed, how it would all work. So yeah, it's really complex, and there's so many different branches and paths of law to go down, but bring them up for sure, folks, because it's going to be cool to think about this, and we'll make law Bible articles eventually on these sort of things once we get a more clear idea. I don't think we've spent enough time really thinking deep into how each of the races of the world, their lives, and how things are with them. We only really know their very, very far history, like who they've descended from and way back, but there's so many other little bits and that to fill in as well with them. And I think we even decided, I mean, very briefly talking about this, we had an Empire military stream, didn't we, before the break? I think we decided that one of the rulers of the past in one of the old civilizations before the government formed, I think we says that a Kit Kat leader would be really cool for one of them, but we never really got to finish our thoughts on that, so I think we should get back to that eventually and flesh that out and make there sort of be a link with the Kit Kat law and something that sort of that works with what we're building here. Okay, so right, next bit. I love learning whatever I can while helping people and get to eat. Okay, so they're obviously a sort of, although they're neutral in allegiance, they're definitely sort of more on the good moral scale. As we know, if they say they like helping people, then that's pretty clear they're more good leaning. And is eating the mice a problem? Does that cause a bit of a ruckus in the lab? I wonder. Is it fine? Is it acceptable? He does that. There's all these things to think about too. Okay, so I think we've got enough research. We've had a little chat about that, and there's definite, like, all this backstory bits, something to think about in more detail. And I can see us having a law world building stream on Kitka and reptiles as well, especially reptiles because they're sort of on the agenda for the current story, but definitely the Kicker and the others as well, and really sort of thinking about things like the biology, what they eat, how they're seen, how people treat them, and all those little things. And obviously we'll review this profile and things and get our thoughts together about that, and really just get this paragraph, this article sort of set out. Even if it has to be adapted over time, having a starting point would be quite cool. I figured that if they knew the baby would grow up to be intelligent, they wouldn't have to raise it in the lab, so a child wouldn't have all these government secrets, but when they found out, they couldn't let them leave. Yeah. So, yeah, and I mean, it's kind of, you know, the way we've sort of written the law, these races definitely do have, they're not the vulnerable in the world like many would think, where they're mistreated and they're weak. They've definitely got strength, and they have this sort of their ancestry is very legendary and respected. But at the end of the day, the complexities, and it makes it more interesting that there's cases where, you know, everything's not black and white, so for sure. Okay, so I'll be looking through the VOD and saving what you've said as well, so we can keep note on that. Let's look through the rest of the form. What is your biggest flaw? Now we're going to get into some of the more personality type of details. And once we've got to the end, we will start that character sprite, and I really hope we can finish him at the end of the stream. I'd be really glad if we got his sprite done today, and then we can have his stream avatars set up, but we'll see. And then we'll move on to Vagabonds next stream, I reckon. I don't know if we'll have time to do both today, so you never know. Okay, so the biggest flaw is being naive. And what is your biggest fear? Overbearing authority. Oh no. Does that mean that he has some problems with others in the lab? Because I could imagine some of them are quite authoritative. I'm going to bold the actual question bits and just get them out of brackets. I think it's going to just be clearer to read like that. Right, so I think like both these places, I'm looking at this, both of them work great. Like we know that both the Cold Mountain and the swamp border the capital. So either of them work and would be very like believable branches where the government would have a lab somewhere close by to them, but out of the way of the capital in a little bit more of a private area. But it makes total sense because we do know that they border the capital. They're more likely to have somewhere close to them than somewhere at the other side of the continent. And I figure you'd be pretty sheltered from living with scientists who don't talk about the interests of people outside much, yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting because this Kicker he's probably very different to, say, Azrael's Kicker character, who is more fierce and living in the wild, and is a bit of a warrior himself. He's a fighter, so there's sort of a contrast there with the two Kick that we've got at the moment, which is cool as well, because you know we don't want every Kicker to be a fighter or you know, it's interesting to have all these different personalities within all the races. And I'm very kind of happy with thinking more deep into these questions, like how they're seen when they're young and how people treat them and see them. It's because those sort of things didn't even cross my mind to think about, because they're such deep questions. It's so easy to just create a race, a group of people, and only think on the surface level about things. But it was definitely inspiring me to have a world building stream on something like this at some point. Okay. What is the next question? What is your deepest, darkest secret? Okay, let's see. We're coming towards the end, I think. Why we put biggest? Deepest, darkest secret is, if I get too bored, sometimes mess with stuff to learn from watching people fix it. Oh, is a bit of a mischievous one then. Interesting. So that would be funny. I think there's an opportunity for some humorous moments. Okay. Anything else you would like to tell us? So yeah, I mean, it's good to keep it open-ended at this point where the location is exactly, but when we know, like, you know, we'll figure out what the perfect place for this to slot into the story. And when we start building an outline, a skeleton of events that take place and plot points, we'll be like, yeah, it actually suits being in the mountains, or actually it's really good for the swamp. We're definitely a bit premature to know at this point, but it's fun to sort of add both as an option. Okay, I like welcoming guests to the lab and writing letters to fellow scholars around the world. Oh, okay, let's get this one in. I keep doing that. Awesome. It'd be interesting if, like, we find one of these letters ourselves and it's written by Bohm, and it's before we meet him. Like, we get the opportunity to read something he sent, so that when we do meet him, we'll be like, yeah, it's the one that wrote that letter to that scholar. There's always the option to that, because as you know, folks, I've mentioned it briefly before. I'm very into the idea of having letters and books and little notes and bits and pieces scattered about the world for people to come across. If it's got a relevance and if it's gonna be something that's of importance somewhere along the line. Okay. Next bit. Yes, emotional disposition section now. So I'm just gonna get, and then its appearance after that, and then we can move on to the sprite after that. So I'll just get the titles in for this. Outlook, integrity, impulsiveness, boldness, agreeableness. This just like really helps sort of get just a very rough skeleton idea of what the character's personality and sort of disposition is, because it can help like with get the tone of voice as well once we start writing their dialogue. Conformity. Okay, so bold them. Curious. Yeah, curiosity killed the cat. Honest, controlled, reckless. Oops, accidentally. Agreeableness. I keep doing that. Open-minded. Talkative. And rebellious. Curious, optimistic, honest, controlled, reckless, open-minded, talkative, and rebellious. Cool. Right, now it is on to the appearance. So we've got all the personality outline and all bits, little bits of story bits and pieces, and now we're on to the look of them, and we'll know what their sprite needs to look like. So now eye color. So we got hair color and hairstyle, but obviously because they're not actual humans or elves or fae, they don't have hair. So it's eye color first, and then we get to fur color after that, I think. Green. And the colour of your fur or scales, beasts only, grey. Ooh. Fur colour, a grey kitty. And do you have any distinguished features? Humans, only. Do you wear any accessories? A medical ID bracelet. Cool. So that might not be something that's actually visible on their sprite. But it all depends if they're wearing something long sleeve while I put medical accessories. But you never know. We could steal it from them and then have it in our inventory. Cool to know these little things because they're potential inventory items. Potentially. Medical ID bracelet. then we just got the pictures now. I guess I should be less sure about honest and controlled if he's so mischievous, but I guess that's why no one suspects him. I know, it's like he's a bit of a contradiction, isn't it? Like he loves helping people, but then he does cheeky, naughty things like eat lab mice and mess with stuff. But he's helpful and welcomes people. I think that's quite interesting because everyone thinks he's probably quite sweet, but really is very mischievous. So I think the contradicting characters can be quite interesting as long as there's a reason for why they're behaving that way and what their motive is. Then it can be great. If it's for the sake of it for no apparent reason, it might seem strange. I'm sure we couldn't think of why he does it. Okay, so let's look at the pictures we've got then. So there's 3, I think. So I'm gonna get them all up. And we're going to look at them in a minute, but let me get them up on my tabs first. And then that's it. Once that's all it, we've got all the form we need then. So let's move everything here. We got a kitty here. So is this the colour that you're thinking for your cat, like the fur coat pattern? We got some other kitties though, so let's have a look at them as well. Oh, he's wearing a lab coat, which is what his clothing's going to be, I assume. A white lab coat. I suppose that makes the most sense for him. And you said grey is colour. I mean, the fur pattern we've got. Let's get Photoshop up for Azrael because, I mean, right now they'll probably use the same fur pattern that Azrael's got, but just reskin him to a grey one. But over time, if we want to give the felines more patterns, we could for uniqueness, I guess. If it isn't too hard to do that, I suppose. But I don't see why not. It's just extra time is all it adds. So let's get Azrael. I'm going to use him as a base. So now the good thing is, which is really, really cool, is that because we've layered all this, we can like give your character completely different eyes to Azrael's because they're not stuck down. We've got everything broken down into pieces. Okay, so I am going to take off the jacket because he's going to wear completely new clothes. But before I do all this, let me just, because we don't want to overwrite Azrael's, I'm going to copy Azrael's layer. I'm going to hide that one and I'm going to bring this one down to the bottom because most recent character, and I'm going to name it as Boom. Yeah, I was thinking grey and white with the white on the face and the paws. Yeah, white paws. Yeah, white paws and a grey face. Yeah, just let me know what, because we got Azrael here as a template. Let me know what colour you want the stripes to be, and the actual main colour of the face and the paws and the nose and that, like, because we're going to be doing that. We'll be recolouring him. So I'm gathering white hands or grey hands, let me know. this bit here would be white, but the bit that's darker blue on Asriel would be the grey bit. And maybe these would be even darker grey, the stripes, but let me know if you had another plan. And his eyes are going to be green as well. So this is going to be fun to see him come to life. So we'll hide the eyes, we'll hide the jacket. Yeah, originally he just had, you know, the cat just had a human, like, normal face, but I added the fur because it just adds a bit more fluff to them. So it's so funny seeing them with a human, like, torso. It's very jarring, but luckily we don't have to do a cat torso because the clothes cover it up. So it makes life a bit easier, but I imagine we'd just really fluff it out if we ever needed to do that. But this guy's going to wear a lab coat, I assume. I mean, I don't know if naked kitties would be welcome in a lab. He's probably been given a lab coat to wear, hasn't he? And to be honest, I doubt there's many naked Kitka in the world anyway, because they're pretty much civilised. But you never know, there could be some in the wild that like to go topless, just like there's topless humans. And darker grey stripe makes sense, yeah. So we'll have a go. I'll have a go at recolouring it right now. And if there's anything that you think, just let me know, just give me a shout. So, and we'll do the eyes after we've changed the fur maybe, because then we can put on the best eyes that suit him. Because we've got a few different eye shapes, haven't we now? We don't just have the RPG Maker default anymore. We've got a few variations that was made, which can really help add character to the character, like a bit of a uniqueness that fits with our personality better. So the eyes that we gave Asriel are definitely more fearsome, like don't mess with me or I'll cut you up sort of eyes. Those ones are, but Bone might have like different eyes, like a bit more friendly or mischievous eyes, but maybe, yeah, cute innocent eyes for all we know, because he wants to put on that bit of an act, doesn't he, that is nice. Well, he is nice, I'm sure he is a good guy, he's just a bit of a mischievous one. Would it make sense to start with the shorter body since but Bone is small? Oh yeah, so that's something I'm wondering now. So how old is Bone? Because this is information that's not in the character sheet. So it's interesting you've raised that actually. So is he a child? Yeah, is he? If he's a child, he's not reached adulthood yet, then he can have the same body height as Fiona Buckington. Because that will be the base we use for the child characters, what we have for Fiona. But obviously anyone who's adulthood would be the tall sprite. So that does help distinguish children from adults in the game, which is great, because before we had the tall sprites, children and adults looked the same, didn't they? There was not much difference in it. Oh no, we got a silly boy in chat, so let's ban them. Ban. Okay, so we'll have a look. That's a good point. It didn't cross my mind actually that he's a young gun. But it makes sense because he was sort of born in this lab and he's not lived for very long. But it's all these little bits and bobs, like you think, oh yeah, he's how many years has he been in the lab for? He's probably not longer than how long it is to be an adult, I assume. Bonus child, yeah, I'd say close for Fiona's ad, awesome. I'm glad you brought that up, because yeah, it's things like that you don't think, and then I'd be like, oh, actually, hang on, how many years has Bone been in this lab for? And then you're like, 12 years, and then I'm like, yeah, why is he an adult? So yes, well noted. So what we're going to do now, because he's going to have Fiona's body, is we will just get rid of that body. We will open up Fiona. So the thing with Fiona is that we actually don't. We have the clothes attached to her because, yes, I don't think there was a nude small sprite. That's why, a small chibi sprite, but there will be one online because I remember seeing a template of a non-clothed chibi default RPG Maker sprite, which is basically what we're going for, I think. Let me just have a quick Google. I mean, if worst comes to worst, we can just stick the lab coat over Fiona's sprite, and because it's a short sleeved outfit that you wouldn't even sort of see it over it. So for now I'm going to do that, but I am probably going to intend to find the nude one eventually, because I only got the nude one for the tall sprite. Okay, so new layer. If there's any issue, then I'll just look for one on the Google Images. If it's getting in the way of the lab coat that we put in, but I think we can overlay it just fine because it's short sleeved. Okay, so the body's there. We've got to move his head down a bit then. Tail. So he might have a slightly shorter tail, I'm assuming, as well, with him being a young gun. So we'll have to chop that up a bit. This is fun actually, because we've never made child beast races before. This is the first attempted child beast race we're making. So, and obviously over time we're gonna have a baby reptile as well. So that'll be one that we make. Okay, so we'll just hide the tail for now. And we'll think of that as an addition once we've actually done the recolouring and everything. So face first, we'll bring that down lower, make sure we get it the extra fur bit as well. So let me just double check where. Okay, cool. Hide that for now. Okay, that's yeah, that looks about right. And now the extra fur. So what a cute thing. He's on a human body at the moment, but we'll colour his paws in with the colour of his fur. And then we'll just stick a lab coat on top of him. Okay, so we've got the tail here. Probably will need to be moved down as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's it moving? 1, 2, 3, 4. That seems far more, yeah, that's level with the floor. But we will need to shorten that tail because it definitely looks very strange seeing a young kitty character with such a long tail, and that would grow as he gets older. Okay, so we've got to fix this bottom one as well. Let's delete the Fiona head. Because it's on a different layer, the facing up face head is, so Okay. Cool. We'll shorten his tail in a bit. Should we get his colour done first? And we'll get his lab coat on first as well, because then it's probably going to be a bit easier to figure out his tail length once we see the coat on. There we go, that needs to be moved because the tail was in the way. I've forgotten how you do. It's good to see you. How was your weekend? Oh, so he's a child van. So anybody who is a child in the game will obviously have the small body because it helps distinguish children from adults. So Met said that Bohm is the same age as Fiona Buckington, so I'm taking Fiona's size and we'll use that Fiona template as the base for now. For any young characters to get in the game, but I've got to get one with the clothes not attached at some point because certain characters will have another vest on or another shirt and we don't want that getting in the way. Okay, so I mean, yeah, that's the thing, like child, do we still call them children or are they kittens, or they can't be called Kit because that's a name for another race altogether. So it's an interesting thing as well what we call children when they're the Kit Kat. Kittens make sense because it's in a way because it's kit. It's like kick a kitten. There's a connection, there's a similarity and link between the two words. So it's not impossible to think of kitten. But it's something to mull over because there could be a few ideas that we could go for there. Kittens probably do work, and it brings up what Met said about potentially some in the world getting mixed up between very young Kit Kat, like Kit that are very young, and other kittens in the wildlife, like young cubs, young lion cubs and that, because it's an interesting concept because at the end of the day, before you've got the ability to talk and walk on two legs, it could make sense that there could be a mix-up and it's hard to distinguish the difference until they reach a certain age. Unless, of course, they, if they're born in the wild, then it would definitely be hard to tell them apart, maybe. But if they were living in society with a family, a Kit Kat family, then yeah, it's probably easy to know which is which. But there's a few. It's an interesting thing to think. We've not even made lions or tigers or other like feline wildlife in the world yet, so we're complete blank slate there. And kitsune, like the legendary creature that was descended from, I mean, in a way they're sort of wild even though they're legendary. Okay, right, so let's colour them in. We'll colour in first, then we'll do it as we go along. We'll see the progress. We've still got over an hour of stream, so I think we could make good progress with this one. So we're going to go for grey and white. So, where's the head? Where's the head? So many layers. There. We've also got this extra fur one as well, so I'm so used to colouring it, like doing colours in a sprite. Now it's going to be weird doing it in Photoshop. I forgot how to use it. So I might give myself a little colour palette here, just a small one for now. So we'll what's this? So this is a slightly off-white. So I've just colour picked that one. Wow, I'm starting to realise how much I love a sprite, because I'm realising the drawbacks of Photoshop with pixel art now. Because this is, no matter how hard you make the brush in Photoshop, it still makes transparent pixels. Maybe there is a way to not do transparent pixels in Photoshop. I'm just being a noob. Maybe if I change it to pencil mode, it won't do that. So that's probably why I'm using a brush, but I thought you could have pencil mode on a brush, but maybe not. There we go, I've got a pencil now. That's much better. Okay, so still not as good as a sprite though. It's not as controlled. So we're gonna pick some colours. So we've got a white there. We're gonna go for a grey, and if you think another grey would be better, Met, feel free to say, oh, a bit dark, a bit lighter. So we've got we'll try well, actually, what we can do is use Azrael's light glow and then just make it grayscale. So that we can get that similar sort of lightness. There we go. But it can still be darker if we want it to be. So I'm going to just use, I mean, how many colours have we got? We've got quite a few in here, so there's going to be more than the 3, but I'll just colour with those for now. So this grey here, the slightly light grey, I'm going to use to recolour this blue. So we need to have contiguous on. Oh no, not that one. Ah, no, that's the colour palette. Where's the face? There we go. So there. Gotta just make sure it doesn't accidentally go over some of them. Gotta be very careful here. There we go. So it's coloured in that bit grey. And then these 2 bits here are slightly lighter. Then we've got the extra fur bit, so okay. Actually, screw the colour palettes, it's making it more confusing. I do that in a sprite now because it's just easier to have colour palettes, but in Photoshop there's I'm not going to do that for now with editing. We're creating art from scratch, doing that's great, but when editing it can make life more confusing. Okay, so So I've got a trick what I'm going to do. I'm literally just colour picking Azrael's. Oh no, not that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm colour picking Azrael's colours and just changing them to a more grayscale version. It might be easier to do it this way actually. We can always change the darkness and lightness if we feel the need to be, but we'll make it all grey first. So we've got those blues here. You might not be using the right brush. Was that from before? Yeah, when I was using the brush instead of the pencil. Yeah, I was like confused. I was confused for a moment because I was like, why does the brush look like this? Because I'm so used to using brushes in a Sprite that look like pencils. You can tell I've not been in Photoshop for some time. So yeah, I'm just great because there's quite a few colours here. Like there's actually quite a few, more than you'd think. So it's taking a bit of time to get them all changed. You might look quite handsome. It's weird calling a kitten handsome. It might look quite cute and adorable when he's done. And then we got to do the extra fur on the chin. I like his pink little nose, really looks cute, doesn't it, on the grey fur? It stands out. Okay, so we got to still do the back of the head, so then we got to do the tail, and then obviously we got to give him some eyes as well. We'll do the back of his head now, and luckily I've made life easier on myself because I'm literally just colour picking all the colours and turning the saturation down. That way at least we sort of keep it with the same lightness of Azrael's, the default cat, which is probably what we want. Put it this way, be easier to change colours in a Sprite, so I'm looking forward to eventually going in there, getting everyone transferred to there, eventually in about 10 years time. It's not going to be, probably not going to be an overnight job to get everyone in there, but so it's not on the agenda right now. I'll just carry on with Photoshop. Okay, tail time. Well, we won't shorten the tail until we've put his lab coat on, because it might we might want to judge it then. Okay, so tail. I'm going to use the shortcut because it's faster. I'm looking forward to putting some eyes on him because that's when the character really starts coming to life. You give him some eyes. He's faceless at the moment. It's going to be cute. It's going to be funny seeing him walking across the screen, the Steam advertiser, and he's like small compared to the rest of the cast. Because we don't have many kid characters. Other than Fiona, we've got no kid characters so far, but there will be more. Because of course there's plans to have a few troublesome kids around Lightfall. Not all troublesome though, I'm sure there's some nice ones. Like the one that puts some lipstick on Meryl. So is that all of the coat done? I believe it is. So next task, we're going to put his lab coat on because it's very distracting seeing the Fiona body. But before we do that, let's at least make the cat paws the proper colour that they should be. So this is, there we go, there's the body. So what we're going to do is let me just check Asriel's. I'm just wanting to check which colours we picked for the hands. So I think it's going to be maybe that one. We'll start lightest to darkest actually. So maybe it's actually that one. Then that one would be this. I don't know though for sure. So zoom out. Yeah, maybe that's a bit dark, so we'll go back to the start. Oh, I missed a colour out, that's why. So that's I missed a lighter colour that we need. This one is that one. Then that one. And then that one. No, not that one. Well, actually, is that one, I think. I don't know, that might be too light now. Surely there's a one in between, because the other one was too dark and that one's too light. There's an in-between colour somewhere we can grab. Yeah, that one. Yeah, probably that one. Such a pink nose, I know, it's so cute. All Kitka are gonna have the same colour nose, because then we start getting weird if some of them have got like bright, you know, fluorescent noses and others have got. There'd have to be a good law reason or some story reason if one had a different nose colour. We got green screen, is it playing up? No, it's fine, it's all good, I thought it was. The pink nose is cute anyway. Okay, so close. Oh no, what's happened here? There's a bit of human skin, I see. How dare they? Okay, so because that arm's in the shadow. I think something looks weird about that though. So let's copy that one. That colour's the right one. There. Now there's a few little spots that are, like, you know, look a bit like human skin here, but we'll get the lab coat on first. Oh, we still have these hands here. All the layers. Okay, so there we go. We're gonna have to colour pick so we can get the right colours here. I think this is the last spot now. There you go. Oh no, there's another bit. Yeah, we'll see how this coat's gonna look. Okay, so I have a generator of clothing for tall sprites. There is I believe there is a lab coat in that collection. What's going on here? Why is there a gap? Let's fill that in with a bit of grey. We got that on all the others? No, must have just been a mistake. Right, as I was saying, there is a lab coat asset in the generator I've got, but that is for a tall sprite. So we've got to find one that fits for this one. Now I do want to look at the one for the tall sprite because we might be able to chop it up so it fits on this one well. But if not, then we're going to just look for some lab coats on other characters and overlay them on top. In fact, we might want to do that. That's probably going to be easier. So, RPG Maker and the lab coat character. See what comes up. Because I do believe there's some assets, some char sets that have a lab coat we can use. I mean, there might be some in my own generator of a bazillion assets. I can open that up now actually. It might be easier to do it that way because then they're not attached to a body and it's going to just be easier. So it's going to take me a few minutes to look through the generator because there's so many assets. So just give me a moment. So kid, that's it. I've got the, I'm opening up my file explorer right now and looking. There's quite a lot of assets here. We've got hair assets, front hair, clothing. Okay, so there are about a couple of dozen of clothing assets I see here, but I want to see the pictures. Let me get the thumbnails up. There might be more than one we can pick from, but we'll see because it's hard to know at the moment. Let me grab them all. Let's open them all. Shall we see? It's going to just be easier to look at them when they're there. And these are, I think, actually the fit for the kids sprites because I think we are actually using the kid body sprites. We did for Fiona anyway. But to be honest, the kid sprites are really not much different to the default adult RPG Maker sprites. There's like literally a couple of pixel variation difference in them because the default adult ones are really tiny as well. So I don't think there really is much difference between the two. There definitely is more difference with the new tall sprites and children, which is great because there's more difference. A spot there is easy overlooked since the eye. I think that must have been what happened, Met. The reason I didn't notice it before was because the eye was over it. But then when you take it off, you see. I wonder if the lab coat will be a bit oversized and drag along the floor a bit or not. That's an interesting sort of little unique quality that could happen. Like, if you think about it, let's think deep in the law here a sec. If this is a child working in a lab, that's not, how commonplace is that? If it isn't common, then they probably only have adult size lab coats, right? And if that's the case, then it's probably going to be quite big for buying, which means that it would drag on the floor. So that's just something to consider. But if it is part of the world where kids actually do work in the science department for the government, then they've probably got small clothes for them. So that's just whether, you know, the world, how we shape that part of the world. It's open at the moment because we haven't set that in stone. It's up for discussion. And, you know, we could always give him just a normal child size lab coat right now, but then over time, if we decide, actually, you know, we'll make him have an oversized lab coat, and we can just adjust the clothing to our liking if that's what we want to do. So that's Fiona's current clothing. So I don't know what these ones are. I think they're what allow you to change the colour in the generator. But let's delete those ones because we don't need them. I'm going to zoom in and see what we've got. We might not even have a lab coat. If we don't have a lab coat, then there'll be definitely one in the adult section. And we'll just get one from there, if that's the case. So many clothes. Because, I mean, we could always get just a random one and adjust it so it looks like a lab coat, but I want to actually make sure that there's not a lab coat staring right at us in the face that's in this generator, because it'd just be easier to have one already. Wow, okay, there's a bazillion clothing assets to look through here. We don't need that one. Don't need that one. I haven't seen any lab coats just yet, but one might come in a minute. At least we got a decent collection for kids' sizes. I really do not think there's much difference between kids' size and the default adult chubbies though. Because I could never notice the difference between Fiona and the default hero when they stood next to each other. If we start running out of time, then we'll give him his eyes before we finish stream. Because I think, you know, I want to see what eyes that Met and you guys think would be good to give him. This cape might take some time to get to find, to dig out. This cape, I mean, this lab coat, what am I on about? It's not a cape. Some of those could definitely be adjusted to a lab coat if we don't have much luck. Just change the colour scheme. But I still want to look. I still want to make sure we've not got one, because I know that the tall generator has one, because I've seen it with my own eyes. Or at least has, like, you know, a shirt and sort of something of that style. And I know that if the tall generator has one, then that means the small generator has one. Because they were variations from the others, the other class. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look through the adult ones and just see if there's one in there. I'm not going to open Photoshop with a bazillion different assets now. I'm going to actually look and see from the thumbnail if I can spot one. Interesting. I could see a few. I don't know if they're actual lab coats, but with a colour change they could look like one. Let me just bring them in. And I could still always search the Google Images and RPG Maker forums for one as well. These have got trousers, but because they're adults, something like that would look like longer on a child, or we could always lengthen it by a few pixels ourselves. Some of them are lab coats, but could be adjusted. If they turned white, could look like one. Let's just get a proper reference image up so we can say an actual lab coat. So that it has the collar on. It's long sleeved white and it would have a collar, right? I mean, that's what Met's reference image here has with the kitty. Just long with a collar. So really that, you know, as long as we hit those details, we've got it right. We don't need a tie or anything like that, I assume. Would he just be the white and then that's it. Hi Tox, how you doing? If you can find the tool more easy, that might indicate the file name of the small one if it's a variation of the original file name. Yeah, it probably isn't. I have a feeling like I might have not found it right now, but I have a feeling it's there. If I dig a bit deeper, it'll be right there staring at me in the face. So if we don't find it today, I'll find it for sure off stream. But what we'll do then, because we're having a bit of trouble finding this lab coat for now, is we'll give him his eyes and shut it now first, just so we get that bit over with, because the eye bit's important. And then we can save the lab coat till last, and the tail shortening, of course. I think he only needs his tail shortening by, say, one segment. Like, we could do something like this, for example. Where we sort of chop that. Or maybe even smaller than that. It would look cute if he... I mean, you guys, what do you reckon when it comes to tail? Do you reckon what I've just changed it to, which I think was 3 pixels, less? Or do you think even smaller for a child kitty tail? Give me your thoughts, chat. We'll put it back to how it was before for a sec. Because I want to make sure we edit all the frames the same, you say. But yeah, that's definitely the super long tail. That's slightly shorter, as you can see. I've shortened it by 3 pixels. The super long tail is just too long for a child, so it definitely needs shortening somewhat. But I'm just wondering if that's quite enough, or whether we want to push it and make it a touch short. It doesn't look stupid like that though anymore, at least. It looks more fitting with the sizing like that than before. Because that just looks like the tail goes on forever with the height. Just sitting here looking for a game to play, but while I did that, I noticed you have some tiny ears. I do, I actually do, funnily enough, very observant of your talks. My ears are so small, I don't even have earlobes. I mean earlobes. You know how most people have like a really dangly bit of ear, like that, like a long bit coming off their ear. I don't even have that. As you can see, everyone, I just don't have earlobes. They're attached to my, there's non-existent. I'm a small-eared person. Okay, so eyes. We'll do the eyes first. We'll do this in order of importance. Okay, so let's get some eyes. Exciting times. Okay, so I'm excited to say what the eyes are going to look like, and it will have okay, so we can't even see because they're 1 minute. Let's figure out how to do this. They will look a bit strange while we're testing them out, because they'll have blue fur around them, because we're using Azrael's as a template. Also, we need to move them down. So he will have green eyes, we know that, because Matt said green eyes in the form. But we need to move them down to test, so, because this is a child, so normally the eyes would be placed there where you could see them here, but because this is a child, we've got to move them down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so that's one pair of eyes. I mean, we could always change them to grey so we can see them properly, but before we do that, let's just move all the green ones down. I think we got about 7 pairs of eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. This is going to be fun. We'll match, I mean, I want you guys to tell me, especially Matt, because it's their character. But definitely when we get these eyes in the right, aligned properly, and get the blue gotten rid of, for you guys to tell me which ones fits Bohm the most based on the personality profile and what just fits him the best. And obviously we don't have his lab coat on yet, so it's hard to sort of get the full picture, but imagine that he's got a lab coat on. We could always just hide the body for now. Actually, yeah, let's hide the body so it's not distracting, because all I can think of is Fiona Bookington right now when I see that body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There we go. And I think I've got the eyes aligned where they should be, but I will double check. Wow, there's more eyes that we made than I thought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There we go. So we've got all our, I think there's 8 pairs. Let me just get rid of the ones that we definitely aren't having, because you get confusing, there'd be too many layers. So I'm deleting the blues and the browns because he doesn't have brown or blue eyes. So we got them ones. But see, we're going to be able to tell properly when we've got rid of the blue, the blue outline from. So once we've filled in the blue and we've made it grey as it should be, we're gonna see how his face properly looks with each of these eyes. Bet you guys can. Would kids' eyes be a bit lower? They might be. I mean, we got to be careful because it would look a bit. We don't want any uncanny valley going on here. Like as soon as you get the pixel a bit out of place, there's a bit. Sometimes it can look strange, but whatever works, right? I mean, Fiona's eyes are the same as any humans because the thing is, the face size is the same. The head is the same as an adult shaped head, so it might look a bit strange if the eyes were different, but it's the body that's a different shape. It definitely gives a chibi look, that's for sure, with the larger head, but that's what makes it cute. Okay, so that and that. So I'm just recolouring to grey. Oops. I just like to make sure I'm giving all the options for eyes here so you can see him, how he looks with each, so that we've explored every possibility. There, so and if only there was a way to mass select layers to shoot. Yeah, I was thinking that as I was doing it. I was like, you know, is there a way to mass select layers? Because this is definitely the slow way. And I was thinking maybe there was, but I just didn't know or something. But maybe there isn't. So let's go through them all. Got a good view of him here, right? So this is the shy eyes. Definitely looks a little bit shy, even a little bit sneaky, bit timid. Tough eyes. I'm badass, you better not screw with me or I'll claw ya. What's that one? Emotional eyes, definitely lived a tough life with those eyes, I'd say. Looks almost like he's going to burst into tears. Serious eyes, you know, square shaped, wide, almost deer in the headlights. Look like he's seen something that's kind of a little bit of a sight. These are the young guys. So, I mean, they're called young guys, so you'd think naturally they'd work well with a child or someone innocent looking. but not necessarily. The kids can have the other eyes too. Not every child has to have the young eyes, but it's a good match with someone who is more innocent in character. These are handsome eyes. Now, the handsome eyes are rare. I'd say not many people have the handsome eyes in the world, because otherwise everyone will want to romance every single character, which, I mean, isn't a bad idea, but I suppose we want a bit of variety in there. Not everybody's a stud. There definitely are handsome eyes. We've got to thank Van for those eyes, because Van helped make them handsome. And then we got the pretty eyes, which are like a variation of the handsome eyes, but just a little bit more feminine. A little bit more feminine in sort of looks, bit larger. So there we go. There's 8 pairs of eyes, and you know, it's whatever fits this character the most, and I'm willing to hear what Met has to say. Not first, because it's Met's character. If Met's not sure, then it's up to us and me and you guys to give some thoughts. And yeah, you can mass select layers. Oh yeah, so there is a way after all. There is a way, and there's always a way. But we've done it now. Maybe it'll be good to know for next time. Right, so let's just have a little quick look, a review of his personality, this kid's personality, in the form we filled in. So let's pick out some keywords. Naive. Well, we know they're young, they're all naive here. But they're not like completely innocent, this character, although they like to help people and be welcoming. So I don't know 100% about the shy eyes. They might be a little bit more friendly for the shy eyes. And talkative, they're quite a talkative character. But they're, I'd say, good overall in sort of alignment, but they are a little bit mischievous too. Doing things they shouldn't without people knowing. They also don't like authority, so there is a bit of sass there. But maybe, I mean, do they have the confidence to challenge authority? It says their fear is for authority, which means they might not necessarily be sassy with authority. They might just try to avoid them. I like the pretty eyes personally. Yes, so the pretty eyes are great, and they're not sort of only for the femme characters. Of course, the male characters can have them too. And it all just depends what fits with the vibe of the character. I mean, I don't think the tough eyes do. I'm going to narrow down the ones that I think don't. I'm not convinced the tough eyes work for this character, because they're a little bit more attitude and, you know, a bit more antagonistic, those eyes are, and more fearsome, more like a true badass. And I don't think Bohm is a badass. He's more of a, as Met described him, a bit of a weirdo. So, and the shy eyes are great, but again, I'm not convinced, because this character's quite talkative and welcoming. The emotional eyes, I'm not sure he's had a hard enough life to have the emotional eyes. Like, emotional eyes are for someone that's seen some things, and probably is a bit more serious in nature. The serious eyes make me laugh, because they are like, oh gosh, I've got to show you guys. Oh my god, I'm not showing you. The serious eyes are like, oh my goodness, like, I have seen a horrible sight, you know. So yeah, maybe not, he's not exposed to that. He's kind of in the lab, and he's not really being exposed to that, I'm gathering, that kind kind of life. I like the pretty eyes personally, and Met says, I was thinking the young or the large pretty eyes. Oh, okay, that's great. So we get in there, which is funny because it says shy eyes don't suit because he's probably a bit too friendly for shy eyes. Although he's a bit of a weirdo, he's not a complete anti-social nerd, right? He's a bit talkative and friendly with peeps. He's too nice to be tough. He's not antagonistic enough or fierce enough to be tough. He's not like traumatized enough to be emotional or serious. The young fits in because that fits in with his naive like quality. We're getting a bit of green screen trouble. There we go, it's a bit better. So I'm with you, Matt. And then we got the handsome, which, you know, they're quite rare. And I think the only way someone can have handsome eyes is if their character stands for being desirable. Like, if they are, like, seen as a desirable character, then, yeah, handsome eyes. But I wouldn't say bottom is, like, desirable. So, yeah, so let's have a look at them zoomed out. We also have to copy and paste them on all the versions, and we've got the side view that's a bit high up because it's still in the adult position, and then it's just the lab coat. So, and oh yeah, shorten the tail as well. So that's the pretty eyes, and this is the young guys. So feel free to say, chat, what you think suits this kitty. We haven't put the body on him yet because I don't want it to distract. Met likes either the pretty or young, so we can go for either, and I'm gonna see what you guys say. So the pretty eyes are the large eyes, these ones, and these are the young eyes, the slightly smaller but more rounded lids. The pretty eyes have got more flicked lids and are bigger, but the serious eyes are a touch smaller, but they've got that rounded sort of lid which gives that very youthful innocence, and the pretty eyes are just pretty. So, and it's a boy cat, so it doesn't mean we can't have the pretty eyes, he can be still pretty. And he's naive, a little bit mischievous, but nobody probably suspects him being mischievous because he's too cute to be mischievous, and too innocent and naive. Yeah, so hi Sort, how's it going? It's so good to see you. Look at all those raindrops. How are you doing today? Hope you've had a good weekend. So we might want to make a decision. I'm finding it tough, guys. I want to see the votes for chat, what you guys say. I mean, right now we have 2 for pretty and 1 for young, because we'll count Met's as 1 for 1 each because Met said both. And Dweed says the pretty eyes would probably help him get away with mischief, and that's very true. To be honest, both could, but the pretty eyes even more so. Should we go for pretty then? Seems that that's kind of what's winning right now, so we'll go for that one. If someone doesn't pop up and say young guys in the next minute or so. Pretty looks okay to me. Definitely looks like a pretty cat, put it that way, when you see those pretty eyes. I mean, I like the young ones too. It's a tough one. I definitely think they're the top 2. I'm in complete agreement with Met, because the others just didn't hit the persona correctly, the other eye types. So we definitely we've got the right ones here. It's all about which one is the ultimate. The young ones look a bit more boyish. Yeah, that's true. Which could be, I mean, like I say, I don't like to be like, oh my gosh, the boyish one should have the boy eyes and the girl one should have the girls, because, you know, gender shouldn't be that binary, right? Like, we can have pretty men and handsome girls. So, you know, we should, if that's the only reason why we'd pick the youth eyes, it's probably not a strong enough argument, but I can understand as well that could be a thing. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. I'm torn. I do think the young ones give off innocence. Like, if we want Bone to be this naive, innocent thing that his profile is kind of setting him up to be, then I can get going with the young guys, because it gives an innocence off. I don't know, like, there could still be an innocence with the pretty eyes, but the more like sort of straight flicked edge might sort of make it not quite as innocent. So yeah, it's your character. Do you like pretty or young? Yeah, Met's letting us pick between the two, and that's definitely making it a challenge for us to decide which one we're ultimately going to go with. If there is one, Met, that really you feel slightly more swayed to, feel free to say, and we'll go for it officially. But if you genuinely don't know, then it'll be up to us to finally go for it. I mean, if we don't know, we could always wait until we've got the lab coat on and then just pick the one that just really works with the lab coat. But ultimately, I think not both, either of them will. I'm not sure. When we zoomed in, I like the smaller eyes, but when we zoomed out, I like the larger eyes. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, the view we're going to see it in game is, well, it's I can't say because we're watching on a smaller screen here, so, but obviously we're not going to be super zoomed in like that in game, so you're going to see it from more this kind of view. So if that's the case, if you're saying you like the larger eyes for zoomed out, which is really the true view, then we should go for the pretty eyes. Well, how young is he? He's the same age as Fiona roundabout. I mean, I don't think we have an exact timeline just yet on his age. But obviously, you know, he's probably not been in the lab for decades. Older than 10, but younger than a teenager, perhaps, is what we're going with, isn't it? Like, because that's what Fiona is. She's not a teen, and she's not, like, younger than 10. She's like that 11, 12 age. So... But it's just like, it's like when we make the kids, when we make more kids, not every single child who has a small sprite in the game is going to have young guys, right? Because that would be very limiting if we just made every single kid have young guys. So some of them will have the tough eyes, some of them will have serious eyes. It'll all depend on the character and characterisation of that character and what suits them. Like a child that's seen some bad stuff would definitely have the serious eyes, for example. So yeah, even if they're like super young. Then I'd say either work, yeah. So yeah, okay, so we'll give him the pretty eyes unless Matt has a change of heart and thinks actually the young guys are what I like best, then we'll stick with pretty eyes. So we'll have them on for now. So let's move this one down on the side view. In fact, let's see it from the side view, the pretty and young guys, just so we're fair and we've seen both perspectives. Why are these pixels coming down with the eyes? Go back. I'm baffled where those pixels have come from. I don't think they're meant to be there. So what we'll do, because looking at this one, they're definitely not meant to be there. They're human ear. That's human ear there. Let's delete that. Wow. Now we might need to look at Azrael's just so we see. Okay, so so the nose, the edge of the eye at the bottom is like level to the nose. That's the indicator, but that's the tough eye. I think that, but if it is slightly off, something's gone wrong there. I think we've lost a pixel. Don't worry though, I'll be double checking, especially when I'm off stream, to make sure there's no odd pixels, because sometimes it can be difficult to perfect on stream because of all the multitasking. Like I'll be double checking and making sure there's no like errors or anything like that about, and I check to see that things are aligned properly as well. There's meant to be a 4 pixel gap between the edge of the eye and the nose, and that's a 5 pixel gap, which I guessed because it looked too far back. So I think we got extra pixels for some reason. So we'll just delete those so it looks a bit cleaner. So how does yeah, it's just meant to be white, so there. In fact, let's colour pick from there so we get the white. So there we go, pretty eye from the side. And how did the young eye look from the side? It's not there. I'd have to copy and paste the young eye from a human character by the look of it then, but it's not, it's the same eye, it's just the only difference is it's made slimmer and a few pixels are cut off. Okay, so there we go. Lab coat time is the next challenge, and we are going to shorten the tail as well. So we are coming towards the end of the stream, but we're not going to finish just yet. We're gonna spend the last half of the stream looking for the perfect lab coat for Bo, and he's not quite finished yet. As you know, there's a few touches to do, like his tail. We're gonna actually get the lab coat on him. But when he is done, I'm gonna upload into stream avatars so Mick can be walking across with the rest of you guys, and he'll have a law Bible profile too. But it might take like the week. I'll probably get the law Bible profile put up during my weekend off at some point. If we can get the sprite done at least, that's a good starting point. And obviously on Thursday's stream we will move on to Vagabond's character. and make that one, because that's the next community character on the list. And I didn't think we would have time to do vagabonds today. I thought today's would be purely for Met's kitty character, and then next week we might do some more world building again, and we might have one world building stream and another stream where we make battle sprites. Maybe we'll see how it goes. But there's definitely world building, like finishing the discussion about conflict and war. That's definitely just a discussion we could do with wrapping up, but I think it'll be very valuable to talk about more intricate details with some of the races, like the felines and the reptiles, and how how they are, how they are born, what how their family life and upbringing and traditions and ways of living sort of differ from human and elf and the typical races. And obviously, because there's some details here in Met's bio that might inspire to some of the sort of lore for how things are for them when they're young, these felines, as they're growing up. Okay, so where were we? Here we go, lab coat. So I did type in RPG Maker MV lab coat. And there's the battle ones coming up, but obviously they're not the ones we need. We want character. Right, so I am going to change the wording a bit, because sometimes it really helps to just change keywords to get what you want. Yeah, so I've just put in RPG Maker MV scientist, and already we are getting more science clues coming up in the search. So I do know that there is a science outfits for those sprite bodies, because I've seen them. Maybe not for the kid one, but for the default chibi adult there is. And I know that there's really not much difference in shape between that and the kid sprite, so it wouldn't take too much adjustment. But let's have a look. Let's have a little look and see what our options are. Okay, so the sprite is SF People 3, so that there is a sprite set for science fiction characters, and that's, I think, where the science or lab coat comes from. And it looks like this is the one. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but it definitely looks like a lab coat. But that's like a torn, is it a torn one? Yeah, it's a sort of torn lab coat, which is interesting. But there's a straight edged one here too. So I'm going to keep that tabbed open, because that's like your traditional white collared long coat, like the ones that we found in the generator were short collared coats and jackets. But this one's an actual long one. And I really don't think there's not much difference in height between the kid sprite and the default chibi one, so I don't think there's going to be much difference in editing. Oh, and the character who wears it already has a tail. What, this one's got a tail? Well, I mean, with regards to tail, we can just have it sticking out, like, look, as if it's coming through in a way. So the tail won't be much of an issue. And that's what I did with Avsbury Owl's jacket. I just had it popping through and giving the impression that the tail was sticking out. Or even almost like there's a hole that's been cut out for the tail, which makes sense because I'm sure beast races would want to be comfortable and have a hole in the clothes for the tails. That would make sense to me. Oh, and there's another edits one here. Let's just have a look because there might be a few options. But what we've got there seems like very very good. I mean, this one's really small for some reason. I don't know why this one's so small. But we can find a bigger one. But I think they're all wearing the same coat, but maybe not. There looks like a few variations there in now the lab coats. Look, and I wish that it would let me look without it being so small. Let's have a look because it might allow us to. Here we go, scientists. Here we go. Here is it big. It's bigger here. So there's not much difference. They're all white. They're all long. They all have collars. There's just a slight difference in small details on these. That's a torn one. I can give you guys the link in chat actually to this. And I think they'll let us use these. Let me double check. Free. In some cases, contact me. You will see a note next to the resource. I can't see it now, but I'll have to look it later. But these are just the defaults, but with some minor edits. So I'm thinking the middle one, but even that one with the violet hair would look pretty cool. But any of them work. Like there's a few there, and there's not much difference. So I'll give it a go. Sometime between now and next stream, I'll have a go at that lab coat, getting that overlaid on him and just making sure he's perfected and finished off. And then at the start of Thursday's stream, I'll show him you. I'll show him you guys. We'll get him set up in the stream avatars. And then we'll move on to Vagabonds. We'll see who that's going to be, because we haven't even looked at their bio yet. Not in the sprite form, but up on the character portrait he does, unless that's attached to the back of his head or something, maybe. But never even so, like if it's not no tail, that's fine as well. It'll be easy enough to just get it attached. Alright folks, so it's 6 PM. Wow, it's gone fast again, the stream has. I forgot to reset the leaderboard, the trivia again. I'm going to make sure I remember for next time. I could do it now, but then I'll have no time. So, yeah, if anyone has any thoughts, feel free to talk in the ideas discussion, folks, or something. If any thoughts spring to mind about Law, or especially Law, because that's something that's always intriguing to consider. But about, if there's anything else as well, any thoughts, and feel free to have a word in there. Okay, LOL. What's so funny? Did I say something funny? I can't remember what I said. Oh, the leaderboard, is that it? All right, everyone. So I'll see you on Thursday. We'll carry on with this. I think it's handy now to, you know, work on Met and Vagabond's characters so we can get the community character side of things done and dusted, the current ones anyway. And I'm sure we'll have more in the future that get submitted, but they'll be put on a list for now if we do. And once I get a bit of time, a bit of maybe a spare week where we're like, yeah, we'll do that this week, then we'll get them done. But it's nice to get them finished so they don't build up and we don't end up with a super long list and get overwhelmed with tasks. And then we've got quite a few things to look forward to. As you can see, there's a few things to do that are on the cards. And yeah, chat, if there's a stream I've missed off here, feel free to say as well, because there might be a really cool stream idea that you guys have that you think we should do. But in the meantime, I'm going to be smoothing over the custom tile set. I'm working on the trees currently, and just carrying on putting together the first build. So yay, okay, and nice. I'm excited to see Vagabond. I'm excited too because I haven't looked at the character form, so it's all going to be a new to me who they're going to be as well. So it'll be fun to have a look and make them together, folks, on Thursday. So I'll see you on Thursday, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Hope you have a good couple of days until I catch up with you again. Bye.